Oh shit. You see that shit right there? That's called foreshadowing. What up, y'all? My name is Creeper, and this is today's Juggalo shit. So, the word horrorcore has kind of become a contested term throughout the ages. I spoke on this a little bit in my last video. I myself actually used to kind of loathe the term when people would conflate it with my preferred descriptor of mixing horror and rap elements, which was the wicked shit. That in and of itself is a bit of a contested term, with Esham purists referring to it as the wicked shit with a T, to the Duke of the Wicked himself, Violent J, coming out and saying that a song about butterflies could be considered wicked shit if you just don't give a fuck. So today we're going to go into an exploration of the origins of the term. Now, to my understanding, it was the Def Jam CEO Russell Simmons who first pretty much thrust the idea of horrorcore as a genre into the public consciousness when doing promotion for the Flatlinerz album Under Satan's Authority in 1995. Flatlinerz, if you don't know, that's Tempest, Gravedigger, and Red Rum. They came out with Under Satan's Authority, which for its time did not really sell very well, but has since went on to become a classic of the genre. Now, the Flatlinerz crew was on a bit of like a 20-year hiatus, I believe. So imagine my surprise when a cursory Google search brought up the fact that these guys had just dropped 1/3 of a 3-part EP project entitled Six. And it's actually pretty good. So much that, and I was just happy to hear from them, you know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden the fucking Flatlinerz are back. So that's dope. I'm going to leave a link to their SoundCloud in the description below, and you can check that shit out. You can also catch the Flatlinerz live performing on the KcaB set of the Juggalo Day weekend in Vegas, which I am sorry to say I myself will not be attending, because I've never actually seen the Flatlinerz live, but I'm sure it would be dope as fuck. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the Flatlinerz created the genre of horrorcore. Far from it. That in and of itself is a loaded topic that's a whole other discussion, enough for its own video. But what I am saying is that the term horrorcore would not be as widespread were it not for Russell and the rest of the crew embracing that moniker and kind of making it almost like a movement unto itself over on the East Coast. Again, another topic for another day. So moving right along, what I have for you in this next segment is we're going to talk about obscure Japanese cinema. You know what I mean? Specifically of the horrific variety. We've touched on this before when I reviewed Bloody Delinquent, Chainsaw Girl, and a few other things. So this week's pick, we have Horny House of Horror. So let me ask you a question. You like titties? I like titties. Do you like blood? I like blood. Do you like dicks? I don't like dicks. But there are some penises. But there's more titties than penises, and you don't really see them. Anyway, and besides, they're more of like almost like a subplot than the actual focus of the film. I digress. So what we have is Horny House of Horror, which kind of stylistically reminds me of the exploitation films from the 70s, what with the subject matter and the soundtrack and the karate martial arts segments that you see throughout the film. A short little movie and quite entertaining for the kind of things that I enjoy, which is, you know, titties and death. So there you have Horny House of Horror. Now the next one, this one is not for everybody, all right? Just a little bit of background. See, I keep a drawer full of certain movies. You know, I'm a horror collector, so I have all manner of horror movies spanning back the last 100 years, actually. But for me personally, I have a drawer of particularly the nastiest of the nasty. And even though I don't own this one on DVD yet, if I did, this is where I would keep it, in that drawer of just the kind of thing you don't break out, you know, when you're drinking with your boys in front of polite company. You do this one when you're drinking alone and you're in a nihilistic funk and you just want to extinguish every last bit of hope that might be running through your heart. So I'm talking about Grotesque. What's interesting about this film is it's kind of a spiritual successor to the original torture porn splatterpunk movement that came out of Japan in the 1980s with the Guinea Pig series of films. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Guinea Pig is like super cult, almost like amateur snuff films, you know, at least the first two were. And they were real raw underground cinema, looked like they were filmed on a VHS recording camera. I'm actually going to go over these in a future video too. But this one kind of carries the mantle. It also came at a time where, in the West, you had the torture porn movement with movies like Saw and Hostel. Well, this was their answer to it, and in true Japanese extreme cinema fashion, they kind of kick it up a notch. All I could say is the ending is a little bit ridiculous, but for the most of the movie is really hard to watch. I mean, that is if you're not a veteran of the sick fuckery like myself. But if you're the kind of person who's kind of into testing your limits, you know, and if you've seen a lot of like the contemporary shock cinema, there's probably nothing new for you here, but maybe you just like a good old fashioned faux snuff porn film, then this would be it. You know what I mean? There's plenty of the ultra violence, lots of gore, lots of hopelessness, lots of pain, you know. You're going to want to feel like you need a shower afterwards, and if not, you might be a little bit worse than me in the psychology department. Either way, I'm going to leave a link to both of these films. You know, neither one of these things is not like the other, but you can check them out for yourself and maybe test and see where your own limits are. Oh yeah. So did you see the Underground Spotlight interview with me and Yerk concerning the WHOOPS Juggalo Webcomic? The first webcomic for Juggalos by Juggalos on the Faygoluvers Underground Spotlight by Johnny O? Well, you didn't? Shame on you. There's going to be a link in the description and you can check that out. It's basically me and Yerk shooting the shit, talking about, you know, our influences and the creative process behind Whoops, but I'm not going to spoil that for you. I'm just going to leave the fucking link for y'all to check out. Shouts out to Johnny O for being fucking super dope and accommodating for the interview process. Shouts out to Scotty D for giving me the opportunity and the platform to speak on and all that good shit. And shouts out to you, the viewer, for checking out Whoops. I highly recommend it because it's free. You know what I mean? You can't get better than free, right? All right. So to get into this next shit, I don't really have any next shit. So I'm just going to kind of end this video with a parade of creepy imagery that I pulled off from the internet. So bye, bitch.